everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ocean State Aquatics TV, and today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the best methods for treating freshwater fish injuries. So let's check it out. If you have a fish at home that maybe got a little beat up, maybe got scratched, maybe has some nipped fins or some missing scales, and you're looking for the best methods to get your fish healed up as fast as possible and back out swimming in no time, then this is the video for you. As you can see, this betta fish here, we got in a shipment about 2 weeks ago, and it actually showed up with fins completely eroded all the way back, and it came in like that. So we used all these tips to help fin regrowth. Since we don't really know how this happened, the only thing we can really do is help it get better as fast as possible. Since it's been about 2 weeks now, you can actually already see that the fins are growing back. So what we did to actually help facilitate fin regrowth are good methods overall to help heal any injury in any freshwater fish. First thing that we did is that we made sure that the water quality was as best as we could get it. Now this is a very highly overlooked aspect of helping healing a fish because it does take a little bit more effort, but we do actually more water changes than we would normally do on this tank to make sure the water quality stays as best as it can be with very, very little nitrates, obviously no ammonia, no nitrite, to make sure that there is nothing that is preventing the fins from growing back. If your water quality in your tank is poor, then that can actually make a much harder time for the fins to regrow, and it can stress the fish out more, and it can even prevent them from eating, which would deprive of nutrients. So you want to make sure your water quality is really, really good so it can focus all of its energy on regrowing the fins. We also want to make sure that the fish stays eating. If your fish is really stressed out, it may stop eating. If your water quality is bad, it may stop eating as well. So making sure your water quality stays good and making sure your fish stays eating are two that kind of play hand in hand. We made sure that this fish stayed well fed by feeding a different variety of high protein foods to make sure that the fish had all of the nutrition that it needed and all of its energy can be focused into healing his injury. So after we made sure that our water quality was good and our fish stayed well fed, we actually ran a course of antibacterial and antifungal medications in the tank. The reason being is that most aquariums will actually have fungus that is living in the water. You can tell if your fish has a fungal infection if they start to get those kind of fuzzy patches on any of the open wounds or really anywhere on the fish. If you see anything that looks kind of fuzzy, then that means it's a fungal infection. And then we also did a round of antibacterial as well. If the fish's open wounds get any fungal or bacterial infections in it, that can actually really stress out your fish and can sometimes even lead to the fish dying. Even if your fish is just stressed out, that can make the fin and injury regrowth a lot slower of a process so that it won't heal as fast. So even just as a precautionary, we did a round of antibacterial and antifungal in the tank just to rule out any of those possibilities. And with doing any round of antibacterial medication, just keep in mind that while it kills bad bacteria, it can also accidentally kill the good bacteria. So if you do any round of antibacterial in your tank, you just want to keep an eye on your ammonia levels and your water quality to make sure you don't accidentally get an ammonia spike. So that plays into making sure your water quality stays good. You just want to be testing your tank during this whole process just to make sure that nothing goes astray. And lastly, the last thing that we did to help facilitate healing is we did a gentle dose of aquarium salt. Aquarium salt is really good for helping the slime coat and for reducing stress of the fish. We also removed any fish from the tank that could be a stressor to the fish, that could either be a fin nipper or could chase the fish around or basically have any sort of stress on the fish so the fish can focus entirely on healing his injuries and not about hiding from a predator. Of course, with any fish injury, especially if they lose a significant portion of their fins, the regrowth is never going to look exactly how it looked before the injury happens, but that just goes across the board with any missing fins and regrowth. The only thing that you can do is help the fish grow the fins back as best as possible to make it as easy and help the fish look as closely as it did to before the injury happened. The fins will always look a little broken, a little injured, maybe a little bit jagged, so if you're watching the regrowth process and you see those characteristics happening in the fins, do not be worried. That is just how fins look when they regrow. It will never be perfect. It might, you might get really lucky, but if it doesn't, it's not anything to worry about. For the most part, these methods will work on almost any injury, on almost any type of fish. Of course, if you have a specific injury that you don't really know how to treat, you can always give a call here to our store and we can help you answer any questions you may have for any fish injury. Like always, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Hopefully these methods help your fish get back out there and swimming at 100% again. And like always, keep it fresh.